Good morning. We're continuing with the Maimon of Chamisha Yom Lachodesh Hashvi on the 15th day of the 7th month, which speaks about Sukkot, and we're holding by Ois Dalet. So you asked this question: how can you say? Which is really a statement in from the Arizal that Ein Sof shines or radiates closely in Keser and Chochma, and when it comes to Bina, it's already Berichuk. It's from afar. So we explained that Korov and Rochai, close and far, is just higher and low, meaning Chochma is on a higher level. That's why it receives more in quality and quantity from Ein Sof. The other Bina is not as high, not as lofty, therefore it receives less, but not in terms of one is higher, one is higher physically, it's closer to somewhere. They're both. There's no such a thing as far and close for Hashem.
Right.
All the Psukim tells us that Hashem is everywhere, Hashem pervading every reality. But when it comes to these levels, when we say Korov and Rochek, the Rebbe explains that Korov and Rochek would mean closer and closer or something that is far, meaning that the level itself is a higher level. Not high-low in terms of like one is 10 feet and one is 5 feet.
I heard it was actually like I'm face to face with you, so I'm close. But if I turn around, I'm still close. But I don't think I'm close.
No, when he says close or far, Chochma has a greater kli to receive, and Bina has less. Keser has greater kli and therefore a greater vessel. That's why it receives more. That's it. That's all. For example, we mentioned an example of our minds. The mind communicates, intellect communicates with thought. Bekir of Mokim. There's closer relationship between them. The thought forms the letters and words, okay? And then it travels to Midos. Remember we spoke about a speech, a guy that gives a speech, and if he does it with emotion, right, he transmits the speech with emotion. So if you try to analyze what happened in his mind, his intellect thought of a subject, the intellect developed the subject, machshava, thought, the thinking was how to deliver, how to present the subject.
Oh, right.
So the machshava is the one that formed the letters and the thought, the words, how to articulate oneself and how to pass the message. And then it went down to speech, to emotions. It comes out. So the relationship between the brain and machshava and thought is close. The relationship between the brain and emotions are far. So not that one is positioned higher and low. It's not the geographical space. It's referring to closeness in level. How close is machshava to intellect? How close thought to wisdom? Very close. And that's why They give one another. That's why thought is receiving from Chokhmah in closeness. So Keser is closer in its characteristics, in its identity to Ein Sof, and that's why it's received a key of Mokim, closeness, and similarly Chokhmah. It's more spiritual, and that's why it can take from Chokhmah, it can take from Ein Sof more directly. And when it comes to Bina, it's already less. It's a little more physical. And that's why it receives from afar. So higher and low, meaning higher in its level, not in its physical space. So he says, now we're going to explain that Ein Sof Mamshech Roech Shach Lema. How is it possible to say that Ein Sof, She'er Ein Sof Meir Bekeser, the infinite light shines in Keser, Uve Chochma, and in Chochma Bekiru Mokim. This closeness. The Lichero, similarly, Are Atzum Se Ein Sof Uleman B'chinas Esser Sfiros. The essence of Ein Sof is higher than Esser Sfiros. Chamaima says, Lav Mikol Inun Midois Iuklal. What does it mean? That the Ein Sof itself, Spheros, Atzmus Ein Sof Uleman B'chinas Esser Sfiros. The essence of Ein Sof is above the 10 spheros, the 10 manifestations. Why? Because the 10 manifestations are defined. If they are defined, they're limited.
So, okay. So the Ein Sof is above.
But Atzmus Ein Sof, the essence of Ein Sof, is not limited. So how can you say there is some kind of closeness between the Atzmus Ein Sof and Keser, or the 10 spheres, Chochmah at least? That he's not noticeable in the emotive attributes at all. How can you say that Atzmus Ein Sof shines in Keser and Chochmah, Bekiru Mokim, in closeness, with closeness? It says it's known. This is from again Eitz Chaim, teaching of Benu Chaim Vital, Arizal, that Sfiras HaKeser is a memutza. Memutza is a intermediary between the emanator and us, the recipients and Netzolim, the created beings. Creator and created beings. What is the memutza? The Keser. You understand the concept of memutza?
The connector. No.
Yeah, like in between.
Yeah.
Like the middleman.
Yeah, we said this before.
Right. But to be a connector, you have to have from both. You have to have
from the Ein Sof and from the Midos.
You have to have some. Your capacity needs to be able to handle the Ein Sof, and your capacity needs to be able to handle created beings. Because he says that the Keser is a mediator between creator and created, right? Between us. So it needs to be able to recognize both. If Keser would be too aloof for human beings, then it cannot connect with us. But if it would be too weak or too low to handle Ein Sof, it cannot take from Ein Sof. A Keser needs to be able to take from Ein Sof and give us. So we need to have both qualities. The qualities of finite and the qualities of infinite. So, what is Sfiras HaKeser? Sfiras HaKeser, B'cheras Rotzi. What's the Rotzi? Right, what higher than Chochmah? We said many times, higher than Chochmah is Rotzi.
Well, you can't design. You can't. If I want something, and you can't. There's no rationale to wanting something. I make it up. I want a new phone. I make up all kinds of reasons why I should get a different phone.
Right. And also, you think, how can I get it? You think of the steps that would take you to get. Ranu and Lamatu, we see down here. It says, where does the Rotzin come from? What is higher than Rotzin? Atzmus HaNefesh, the essence of the soul. So your Rotzin is also a intermediary, a middleman between the essence of your neshama and the powers of your soul. Powers of your souls are powers that are limited, defined, and the essence of your neshama is not. The nefesh itself is above kochos, above saying this is chesed, this is chochmah, this is gevurah, this is this is that. She's not, nefesh is not defined to midos. To define powers, to say this is specific power. And the enclosement of the nefesh in koichos, which is something that is a must. It's a necessity, because eventually all the powers and all the midas coming from the nefesh itself, from the soul itself. So how's that happening? Because the nefesh itself, first the nefesh goes into rotzin. Nimshechas, she's drawn down be'inyan harotzin. What is the inyan harotzin? It means it's a general power that surrounds, encompasses, that is not limited.
It's the idea.
Is not
idea of will or something, no?
Like the inner koiches, the revealed inner koiches. Shehu amemutza shaliyod itislabish hanefesh b'chol hakoiches. So the rotzin is a intermediary. Through the rotzin, the nefesh is now enclosed in all the specific powers like intellect, emotions. Kedua, it's known shamutza ish b'shnei yon shamutza b'inem. It says the intermediary has to possess the two qualities, the quality to receive and the quality to give, or the capacity to receive and the capacity to give. When I say it has to have both capacities, I mean that it needs to relate to both, needs to relate to the essence of the nefesh, and needs to relate also to the body. It's very hard to find. See a person say is usually limited to one or two things, to say that now to really relate to something that is high, it's fine. You find people like this, but to relate to something that's very lofty, and at the same time to connect with something so low, to give it to pass it on to something that is so beneath you, it's hard to find, right? Because you have for example, specific people they connect with their group. Each one has their own group that they connect with. usually the group would be on a level that is somewhat close to the echelon, to where they are. Over here, when we talk about intermediary, like we're saying about Kesser, on one hand he receives directly from Ein Sof. Imagine what power is it to receive from Ein Sof. And then to take it, to give it to created human beings, it's completely the opposite power. Power of finitude, constraint, enclosement, definition, which is the opposite. But it needs to have both capabilities. Kesser. It's almost like, not almost, this is what it is. It's designed to do two opposites. Connect itself to Ein Sof, be one with Ein Sof, no limitations, no definitions, no image, nothing. Completely abstract, takes some Ein Sof and give us, and it's the exact opposite. So when it comes to Rotzin, despite its shaychus, its connection to the source, is hatoyas nefesh, is hatoyas nefesh would mean that there is some kind of inclination, inclining to do something, inclining. Although it's the Kesser is inclined to communicate with the Nefesh, nevertheless, it has a connection with all the koichos. That the will govern and dominates all the limbs of the body, not just the machshava, not just chokhmah. Says, somebody really wants to learn, he will be able to learn, he will be successful in his studies, even if he is not a big Baal Seichel, if he is not the brightest guy in town. Why? Because he has Rotzin.
Right.
So Rotzin is the most important thing. And Rotzin is pervading every single limb of your body. Rabbis said in the Gemara in Megillah, page 6 on the base, 6b, it says, Yergatim utzasitami. The fact that the Rotzin has the capability to dominate all the powers, even the powers of Asoga, powers of grasping, of understanding, proves that it has a connection and shaychus and relation with all the powers and is never separated from them. It says in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, a person should learn in a place where he desires, place that he desires. What does it has to do with place? Learning limud is intellect. What difference does it make if I'm sitting and my desk is in front of is in yeshiva in Israel, in yeshiva Tzfas, or yeshiva in Los Angeles? What difference does it make? You're learning a subject. It's intellectual. What is the Gemara? It says a person has to learn a place where he desires. What difference does it make? You want to learn, you learn wherever you are.
I don't know, the whole chemistry of the atmosphere. Some atmospheres are good for some.
So let's see what he says. He says, although limud happens with intellect, you have the power of havana, saga, power of understanding, grasping. When you have a specific desire to learn a specific subject, impact the seichel. It's like we remember a famous teaching about the Gemara in Nida. The rabbi said, "What's the point of us going through all this argument? Do you really think that a woman would come up with these arguments?" So the rabbi said, "Yes, she'll come up with these arguments." So why do you think that she would think about all these complicated scenarios? So the answer was because it's affecting her. So if a subject is affecting a person, he becomes very knowledgeable, even though he's usually not an intellectual guy. Like you'll have we find with people who God forbid, contracted or developed a certain sickness, a certain symptom, or a certain condition, they become very knowledgeable in this field.
Yeah.
They study it and they know better than the doctors.
Yeah. My cousin, my wife's cousin, had that in the pancreas. He was reading, trying to find. Got him anyway, but he was like.
Right. So why? Because it's negate him. It was affecting his life.
Same thing that this Ginsburg just died of, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She died of. No, it seems like nobody gets away with that. When he got that.
So the point is that since the moment you develop a rotzen for a specific subject, that's it. So if you develop a rotzen liber chofetz, you want a desire to be in a certain place. Maybe they teach different. Maybe the rabbis, you're connecting with the rabbis there. You're connecting with the teachers there. You're connecting with the place more.
You see, different rabbis that you connect more with. Some of them, it's like oil and water, unfortunately. Hey, Mashiach has to come. It's 7 o'clock already.
Oh, okay.
So later, no.